Okay, in this tutorial, we're going to be talking about modifying layouts. So I'm going to go ahead and batch some frames to get us with something to work with. Okay, so when you first run Framebatch, you'll get layouts that look like this. Now, some of them might be perfectly acceptable and you might not want to adjust them at all. But others, you might find, okay, well, there are certain parts of the image that are being cropped, or there are aspects that I want to include that aren't included. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through how I would edit these things. And if you haven't watched my preferences and settings video, I recommend you go to that first, because some of these things you're just going to benefit from watching that, and it might make your workflow a little bit faster inside of this. So I'm going to deselect these things, and I explain that more in that video. But let's just take a look at some of these frames that we have. This, we've got a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right. I actually don't mind that being centered. So let's move on. This, pretty good image. We can zoom in if we wanted to. And so all I'm doing is I'm holding Command and I'm clicking the image that selects it. And then I'm hitting Command T, and that gives us these transform handles. And if you hold Option and Shift, you can drag from the middle, and then you let go and you can move it around. It stays within the frame. Probably the most useful keyboard shortcut that you could learn is Command Z, because that undoes whatever your last action was. And you can kind of stack that so it'll do that multiple times if you want. You can even undo the placement of all of the images. So for my taste, I would say let's center this person, solidify that. Okay, so I'm going to select this one. Maybe I want to focus on the main action of this, which is this person writing. So I'm going to just zoom in on that. This is a pretty good interaction, but I think the side of this frame is a little distracting. So why don't we zoom in on these? And I'm just hitting enter at the end to kind of accept the transform. You can also click this check mark up here, and that will do the same thing. I think this looks fine. Actually, let's shift it up a little bit. If you hold Command, you can see these kind of a pink frame that shows you how much space is left at the bottom, how much space is left at the top in this image. So we can kind of move that down. Standard practice, whenever you're moving something, I mean, you can just freely move it. If you want it to kind of stay on this same axis, you can hold Shift, and that will kind of constrain it a little bit better. I think I like having this look to it, the framing of that. And then let's zoom in just a little bit and bring this up. I like that. Okay, and this one looks perfectly fine to me. That one looks perfectly fine. This one, I feel like we can shift them. Let's see. This looks good. I kind of want to zoom in on here a little bit. And the more you do this, the faster you'll get at it. And you won't even feel like you're having to think too much about it. The keyboard shortcuts are really valuable to learn. So you can see pretty quickly, I mean, we've been doing this for 2 minutes, and these layouts are pretty much ready to go. Now, something you might run into is like, hey, I like all of these, but this fifth one I don't really like. So let's run over here to the layers panel, and I'm going to find the artboard for 5. So let's minimize some of these. So artboard for 5. Just simplify this. Okay, so this is the image. We can just straight up delete that. And if we want to import our own images, we'll add a layer, we'll hold Option, and we'll click between these two. You can see how the icon changes a little bit. So click between those two. And then let's go to this same folder. And let's say instead of that, I want to put another image. Let's actually do this one. So I'm just going to drag it straight into the window, and we're going to have to resize just a little bit. But now you can see, because we already had that layer selected as a clipping mask, it applied it to this. Now in this specific case, because it's not within a frame and there's no background to it, you wouldn't really need to do that. We could hold Option, click in between, and even delete this altogether. But if you were doing it for one of these other images that was clipped and did have, you can see if I reduce that, then it comes outside of this frame. So that's just a quick way to swap in one image. Let's say all of them were great and you just didn't want that one. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it would just to be going back to Framebatch, run it one more time, and then you find the one missing one that you want that actually does work, and then you would export it. So I'm going to do a separate video on exporting, and you can watch that next.